Okie doke. We are live. Hello, Team Tobias. I'm a little out of breath because I had to just run and get the dog a very gross beef trachea.
We don't
Yeah.
need details. We don't need.
All right, cool. I guess you don't want one yourself. That's fine. Anywho, I'm Lane Haymont. With me, as always, is Ann Rose.
Oh, you want
No,
to say our names?
I wasn't sure who was supposed to talk.
I didn't want to speak over you, so if you want to
I'm
introduce
Ann
yourself.
Rose and the very fabulous
Kelly Dykster House.
Yay,
Yeah.
Kelly Dykster House. Okay. So do we want to hippity hop into it?
Yeah. We've been getting a slew of submissions, which is fantastic. Thanks to everybody who has been sending them in. We have just randomly selected from the inbox, several that we're going to go over today, and hopefully they are helpful. So does that sound good?
Yeah.
I don't know if not all of them have genres, because I think we started asking for that at a later point in time. So we're just gonna have to go with what we got. You know what I'm saying here?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to read first?
Not me. I was thinking you.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thank you.
One is no genre provided, so we're just jumping right in. Okay, and I already apologize in advance for my absolutely terrible reading out loud skills. It is not my skill set. Just gonna throw that out there, and I will pronounce things wrong. Okay, thanks. All right. Chapter 1. The faces of paintings longing to find a home stared back as I locked the front door to the Castle Fine Arts Gallery. At 6:35 p.m., the streets of New York City Center bustled with people squeezing in their last Friday shopping errands and disappearing into the dimly lit restaurants for dinner. I, on the other hand, had a bottle of Merlot calling my name and a Bedshire clanger waiting to be whipped up in my kitchen. I tucked the gallery keys into my jacket pocket and wrapped the denim material tight around my waist. Spring used to be my favorite season, cold enough for early crisp mornings, yet kind enough for flowers to bloom. But over the last 2 years, clouds filled with piercing chills hovered over my head and heart. What was the point in seeing the beauty in those moments, to hope and believe new life would blossom when it would only be destroyed come the winter months? Each thud of my boots on the cobblestone street shivered up my body and cemented the idea. As I hurried along the street, a toddler bumped into me. I reached out and stabilized myself on the head full of black curls. He looked up. "Oh, hello there," I said, his chubby frame reminding me of my sister's kid. I hadn't seen them in months, not because we were too busy to hang out, even though they lived over 3 hours away, but every time I looked into those innocent eyes, the reminder of the man derailing my plans to have kids smothered me like a pillow. "My apologies." A man jogged towards us and swung the little munchkin onto his lap. "This little fellow wants to be the next Usain Bolt? I don't know what that is." He rubbed his hand through the kid's hair. That's it.
Best ending ever.
That's it.
Okay. So Ann Rose, thoughts?
So I think I'm going to assume that this person, because I get to see it, right? Like I'm looking at it, and there's some UK spelling in here, and we use the Bedfordshire clanger is used. So it's like a New York setting, but maybe a European protagonist, possibly. I don't know.
I don't think it's New York.
The streets of York City. I just read that as New York. That's my bad.
Ooh.
So
That's okay.
No, it's not. It might not be. You're correct there. Sorry.
So I think it could be set in the UK.
Yes. Sorry. I saw York City and I like New York City. Done. That's where my brain went.
That's so American of you.
It really is. So American of me. So That's that. And I guess cobblestone streets. Yeah. So probably set UK. It's really cute. I think it's cute, right? Like, but I'm not exactly sure the genre. I'm not exactly sure where we're going. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing here. So it's fine.
Nice little details of character though in that first. I do wonder though, those last 3 paragraphs. I mean, I have an advantage. I can see it as well. You know, oh, hello there, I said. His chubby frame reminded me of my sister's kids. And then there's like this long beat that's much more than a beat, where all of a sudden the character's thinking about their sister's kids, and it kind of takes us out of the action. And then all of a sudden, my apologies, a man jogged towards us. So I wonder if that's too long of a break in between.
I think we're trying to set up too much here, and we don't need to right away.
Yeah. Also, I wasn't sure until the end. I had a question if this was the protagonist speaking here, if first person was a male or female. I wasn't sure.
Same.
I don't know. I don't know who they are.
So that might be something to try to work in a little earlier.
Yeah, maybe add a little agency in this. Like, they're leaving this place and they're obviously going somewhere, right? But it's you know, a bottle of Merlot. Love that for them, but it's not super compelling, right? Like, it could be something that makes us want to see if they're able to get there. Maybe they're late for something. Maybe they have to get home in time for a call. I don't know, something. But if there's some sort of ticking clock element or something that we can use here to kind of like pull us through a little bit more, I think that could be really useful here. Lane?
I concur.
Excellent.
Thank you. I provide a lot of information for these things.
Real quick, people are asking if they've submitted their page like a couple months ago. Do they have to resend it for it to be considered every month? If they've sent it, it's in the...
We're trying to go from the bottom to the top. I will admit that there was a little confusion on where the bottom was today when we were going through them. And so it got a little out of order, but we'll get back on track after this time.
So if yours hasn't been read yet, it will get there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There are some people that have submitted like multiple in a row. Like, they'll come into the inbox and it'll show like Bob. So we probably won't read all of Bob's in one day, but you know, so we might pick one and skip and then come back, right? But we will get to all of the ones that are in there.
Great.
Curse you, Bob.
That's my dad.
We'll double curse you, Bob.
Okay. Should we read some of these comments or?
Sure. I mean,
No? All right, we can move on. Anything else we want to say about this one, or we should go on with number 2?
Let's move on.
All right.
move on. I thought you were Ann Rose.
No, I read the first one.
All right, I'll read this one. No genre provided. Please understand, I am reading this off my phone. And yes, we all love Ann Rose's glasses because they remind me of Judge Judy.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see much better with them on too. That's always very helpful.
That's true. Okay, here we go. It's another UK one. Interesting. Congratulations on another well-done project. We have closed the deal, this time for 300,000 euro. Does it say pounds or euro?
Pounds.
I think that's pounds.
Pounds. Okay. Samara said, standing tall in front of all the employees, her black blazer and suit pants giving off a dull shine in the light. The floor erupted in applause on hearing the news. The celebration could be heard in every corner of the office. Everyone clapped, some cheering for their teams as loud as they could. Samara joined her hands, smiling gleefully, watching everyone cheer. Although her attire spoke business, her warm smile was where her spirit lay that made her the boss everyone loved. Is this how it always is? A new intern asked, standing quietly in a corner as she tried to understand the atmosphere of the office. New upcoming corporations had their own ways of being built, but a crowd of 100 people all cheering on was a beautiful kind of overwhelm to experience. As the world seemed to peak into environmental damage, the one thing the intern felt committed to was work towards well-being on this planet, and now she couldn't believe her fortune that she had landed an internship at the very place that had been featured in the news as the fastest growing company of the year, focusing on wellness and sustainability. Holy shit, that was a long sentence. Pardon my French. Freedom Solutions. It looked into well-being on both fronts of the planet and the people living on it. Not always, but most times, Addie said, the intern's buddy, absent-mindedly holding a cup of coffee in his hands. Samara, the CEO of Freedom Solutions, was a force of nature. She was the gentlest and the most brutal boss lady he had seen. Her pretty face with dark brown hair falling like waves around it was not to be mistaken for feminine weakness. Even though of average height, he'd seen her stand taller and own rooms than many other CEOs in meeting rooms. The new intern began, her eyes glittering with prospects of a bright future. It's really marvelous. 300,000 pounds for a year. 300,000 pounds for a month, Addie corrected, adjusting the glasses on the bridge of his nose. No way! I have so many thoughts on this piece that I need to let Kelly or Anne go first.
Well, I will say, first of all, I always appreciate kind of more of an omniscient viewpoint, which this seems to be, because we are kind of in lots of different, we in Samara's, a little bit in her head, and then, but mostly in the intern's head. So I'm very curious why the page starts, the very beginning of the book, naming Samara, but the intern, who seems to probably be the protagonist based on how much time we spend in their head, is only named the intern. I might like a name there, especially seeing as a third character has a name, this Addie guy. So that might be something to think about, because I am confused right off the bat about who the protagonist is and who I need to be focusing on and cheering for. And I don't think you want your readers confused about that right at the beginning. But that's my first thought with this.
I agree. The omniscient piece didn't really work well for me personally. It left me a little bit lost and confused on who our main character was, and who I should be following. It felt a little bit of author voice creeping in versus like character voice too, which I struggle with sometimes. I'm not sure it's starting in the right place. I always say that starting with dialogue, which this one is doing, is very difficult. And so my hot tip, which I've said before and I'll repeat it again, is that if this is something that you would listen in on a conversation, if someone says this and you would listen in on this conversation in a busy coffee shop, then it works really well as an opening line. But if it's not something someone would stop and listen to in a busy coffee shop, it's probably, maybe ground the reader first. And this one's a little bit too long, a little bit too much for passing the coffee shop test. So I would suggest grounding the reader. Also, I just don't know what the genre is. Is this women's fiction? Is it commercial? I'm not entirely sure where we're going to be going with this.
Yeah. The point of view really was rough for me. It felt like we were in the protagonist is the intern, but then we kind of switch over to Addie, and we get this really kind of, I'll be the one to say it, sexist, problematic view of the boss in the world with feminine weakness and all that jazz. And there feels like there's a lot of repetition and description of the physicality of the world as opposed to who the hell we are, where we are. And I kind of wish Ellen Ripley would show up and deck Addie in the face. But
What? What does that have to do with anything?
Ripley? Because he's feminine weakness.
No, he's saying it's not to be mistaken for feminine weakness.
Okay, I get that, but just the implication.
Yeah, I know. It would be nice for the reader to be able to experience Samara for Samara's sake and have the reader form their own opinion of this character right from the beginning, maybe because of the way she acts and carries herself, rather than seeing her through another character's eyes right from the beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot of smiling and a lot of kind of overarching global telling.
Mm.
Those are just my hot takes, as they say.
Yep, omniscience hard.
Yep. Does anyone in the comments have comments? Feedback?
One note is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of conflict drawing you in yet, which, yeah, we have that lack of, I call it agency, that lack of agency, like the why we want to know about this, why we should care. So yeah, some more internal feelings I think would be very useful in this.
Yes. And I mean, I think we don't even know who to root for.
Yeah, we don't know who the protagonist is, and I think that's really the toughest part in this one.
Yeah. Okie doke. Kelly, do you want to read next, or should it be Anne?
I can read this. This is a witchy contemporary romance, beginning with a prologue. Back then. He was late. He was never late. Sweat was starting to cool on her neck from the slight breeze building, making her shiver. Pulling her shawl tighter around her, she tried to take in one deep breath and then another. This time would be different. It had to be. She couldn't take their rejection again. Flutters in her stomach reminded her of the bigger picture this time around, and the shaking in her hands eased slightly with that feeling too. She tried to distract herself, looking around the fields and the woods. Dusk was always beautiful this time of year, crisp, pink, and quiet. What Meredith didn't see was that two bright green eyes watching her from the tree line as she was standing by their usual tree waiting impatiently. Rustling sounds came from behind her, and a panting man came into view at last. "Jacob," she breathed. His mouth lifted into a barely visible smile, reaching to take her hand in his eyes lowered to her stomach and then the floor. "I'm sorry," he said. Her heart sank. She knew he wasn't apologizing for his lateness. "We can't go tonight. It's not the right time. You need to give me more time." Her chest tightened as she took a few steps back, her eyes burning the words poured out of her with one breath. "We can't wait any longer. They need to know now, Jacob. I can't bear their glares across church or their whisperings in town anymore. They know something is happening. I can feel it. They do too." She looked up to the trees, which were swaying in the fading light. Her anger was building, and they knew it too. It wasn't fair. None of this was fair.
Okay, I'll start off on this one. So I really love the idea of witchy contemporary romance. I'm going to start with that. I think that this one is struggling a little bit because we start with he and she, and we don't know who he or she is. And if we are doing a third person, there's nothing in here that says that we can't start with their names. So Jacob was late. Why not why are we not just starting with their names? It just seems unnecessary to just kind of leave that information out until later. It's not really hooking us in to not know who they are. Also, it's just not really clear where they are. The point of view is a little bit it's not really sure, because then what she didn't see, so that feels like an omniscient narrator telling us what she didn't see. So I'm not quite sure who the point of view character is. When we say floor and they're outside, it makes me think that there's a floor, but like outside is the ground. That's probably just me. I don't know, but it feels just a little bit like they're trying to get us intrigued by giving us vagueness, but instead it's just making me be like, well, I don't know enough to care yet. So I want more specificity, if that makes more sense.
I love the way you said specificity, because I can't say it. But yeah, it reminded me, little did he know. Pulling us out, the overlord watching, we're outside of ourselves, little did he know. And that's very difficult to pull off. And I think there is one person who pulled it off, and I think it was maybe Jane Austen. It's a whole big thing. But Kelly, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like, I'm intrigued. I would read on. So I think that's a question that, when I do these first page sessions, I always want to say, am I intrigued enough to keep reading, to turn the page? And I would read on. But if I did read on, I'd want to know pretty quickly exactly what's going on between these two characters. Like, I feel like I'm being asked to care about something that I don't know anything about. Like, we can't go tonight. It's not the right time. You need to give me more time. Well, that doesn't really carry any meaning because we don't know go where, the right time for what, more time for what. I feel like we just need to be grounded a little bit more in the character to for any of that to feel like it carries real stakes. So I don't know necessarily why you're withholding that from the reader. I don't think it's maybe necessary. I think you might be able to lay it all out. And I especially don't know the they. Her anger was building and they knew it too. It wasn't fair. None of this was fair. Well, it's hard for us to feel the injustice because we don't know what in the world she's talking about. So I feel like there just needs to be a little bit more grounding. And I know this is a prologue, and we can maybe talk for a minute about prologues too.
We should.
But in order for a
in the
prologue to really work, it needs... Okay, I'm going to try to think how to say this clearly. It needs to be clear, and it needs to, it can't be vague. It has to serve the story in a way to actually enlighten the story. So I feel like this is maybe not serving the story the way a prologue should.
It also needs to be information that the reader needs to have at the beginning in order to understand the rest of the story. So if this is information that we don't necessarily need right away to be able to follow the story and follow the characters and understand them and want to go on their journey and all of those things, then we don't need the prologue. I always say that, like, if you can just start at chapter 1 and we don't miss anything by not reading the prologue, you might not need the prologue.
Right. Yeah. I would actually kind of, that's one reason why I would read on, is actually to see where chapter 1 starts and what the real first page is. The other reason why prologues are just, people kind of frown upon them is because there's been a lot of research that shows that readers just don't read them. So if you feel like your story is depending on it, like, I don't know. Now as a reader myself, I actually love a good prologue. When it's done right, I really like that. And is that Yoni agreeing with me? I hear a dog.
Yes, unfortunately it is. Yoni does agree with you. Bad dog. Bad.
Yeah. Anyway, but I feel like the writing is strong here. I am intrigued. And I would read more. I just don't know if I would read a lot more. So you got to make the next pages work really hard.
And I don't know how true this is or if it's still true, but in general, I think a prologue needs to not feature the main characters. That's something I learned in graduate school. I did not graduate, so don't go accusing me of having a master's degree, because I don't. But that's something we were taught. So I don't know how true it is. And neither does Yoni, obviously.
I'm not sure that's a hard, fast rule, but
Yeah.
I don't think it is either. That's why, I said it the way I said it.
all right. We shall move on to our next one. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. This one is letting us know that it's a YA speculative, and there is also a prologue in this one. August 1921, Oklahoma. No one seems to notice the old man. The lines on his face blend into the bark of a sprawling oak as he waits for the congregation to file out of evening mass. They're too distracted by murky clouds converging on the horizon. 10 minutes later, a portly priest and his spindly assistant appear, hovering at the front door of the whitewashed church. A heated debate ensues as to whether they have time to board up its particular stained-glass window. It was a patron's gift, after all. The priest lights a cigarette. Puff swirls around the door. The conversation shifts from debate to chastisement until finally the exasperated priest stamps out his cigarette, locks the door, and shuffles his assistant down the hill into town where a storm cellar awaits. The wind thickens with dust. Branches groan in warning. The old man remains, waiting, wondering. Her instructions had been very specific. This date, at this window, during this storm. Please, Matthew, trust me. If he had known that he would never see her again, he would have asked more questions instead of turning away in anger. But he's here now to see if she was telling the truth. The rain arrives, pulling Matthew away from the memory's painful echo. After a few minutes of deceptive spittle, the storm condenses into heavy sheets. A loose barrel rattles among nearby gravestones. Threads of electricity spark through the churchyard. Thunder pounds. He ducks down reflexively as the church's front window shatters inward, then hurries forward, climbing the short flight of steps and pushing open the splintered door. A young girl with loose curls of dark hair lies motionless on the floor of the foyer, surrounded by shards of multicolored glass.
Did we just get another Little Did He Know?
Possibly. An omniscient narrator?
Yeah, if he had known that it would be the last time he saw her. That feels a little did he know-ish.
I'm intrigued. For a prologue, this feels heavy. Like there's almost too much information. It feels almost too much like a complete scene. I'm not sure that we need all of the back and forth between the priest and his spindly-legged assistant. What was it called? Anyway, and you really are just need maybe Matthew's just focus on him. But yeah, I'm intrigued. And I think the last line needs more. I'm not sure that's where. So this is hard because I don't know if this is the end of the prologue or just the end of the page. but the young girl with loose curls lying in the multicolored glass. If you started more with Matthew, you could maybe give a little bit more description about her, and was he expecting to see her there? I think that was the big question I have. Is he surprised? And what is he thinking? Was he wanting to find her? And again, I'm just not sure this needs to be a prologue. Like it could, but it's hard for us to judge that just on one page. But
I agree. I think it's doing what the last one is doing, which is it's trying to be too vague in order to create like a question.
Yeah.
Yes. But instead it just is more frustrating than anything. Like I'd rather you just tell me who her is. Like who's her instructions. I don't know who her is. Why should I care what her instructions were? Right. Like, so I think sometimes being more specific is better than being less specific.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like people are trying to use that as, him, her, as a way to quote unquote engage or hook us. But that kind of feels inauthentic in that what should be hooking us is the story, not that you use the word here or there, if that makes sense. Am I wrong or?
No.
Oh, okay.
A comment we got here was it didn't really give a sense of what he was feeling during all of this. Lots of environmental descriptions, but not so much emotional. Yeah, we are definitely missing that emotional or that piece of it.
There's a lot of narrative distance between the writer and the reader and the characters.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest for narrative distance. I want to be, feeling that terror of Loch Ness Monster stalking me. Not that I believe in the Loch Ness Monster, but, someone said names give depth and connection, and that's it. We are automatically much more connected to someone whose name we know than a him or her or they.
Right.
All right. Who is reading next?
I think it's your turn, Lane.
And another no genre provided. Interesting. Okay.
I like this one.
Perlock gets shot in the rump. A rump is a behind.
This is chapter 1. I think that's the title of the
chapter.
Oh, okay. A regular cat is a lonesome creature, but a super smart, danger-loving, mischief-making cat detective? Now that's a breed few animals want to spend their time with. Perlock Holmes was exactly this kind of cat. In fact, Perlock himself would argue there was no other cat like him, and he was perfectly happy alone, thank you very much. That was until one drizzly Sunday in London when something unexpected happened. On this gray morning, a golden retriever called Dr. Wolfson decided to take a stroll to Covent Garden Market. He'd woken with the idea that a few slices of the city's finest ham would be simply delicious for his breakfast. Little did he know. I love it. I love it. I lost my place already. Hold on. Little did he was about to meet a world-famous cat detective, world famous according to Perlock, though others disagreed, and have his whole life turned upside down. And so it was, whether through fate or fortune, that as Wolfson sniff-tested a honey-roasted Wiltshire slice, Perlock stood just a few meters away, hiding in the shadows. With his collar pulled up to mask his face, the detective watched passers-by with narrowed yellow eyes, waiting for an opportunity to slip into the crowd. But the crowd didn't ease. With only a few weeks until Christmas, every animal in the capital was out despite the dreary weather. Gaggles of geese, Overexcited otters, and worst of all, a smug pack of dogs were all mixed in with one another, carrying baskets laden with presents and overflowing with food. Amid the chaos, Perlock spotted his chance to cross the square unseen. Ducking behind an enormous turkey, he took cover under its long fan tail feathers and moved in sync with its steps. Completely unaware, the bird waddled on, clutching a bright pink floral umbrella that jabbed other shoppers out of the way. Perfect for a cat with personal space issues. That is how you use Little Did He Know. I heard a lot of reactions at the beginning, so let's have it, Kelly Dykstra House.
Oh, this was a lot of fun. And one thing I think, so anytime I start a book that has animal protagonists, I wonder, so are these real animals that were in their heads, like in a human world? But you answer that question, or this page answers that question quite quickly. And I like all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, so these are anthropomorphized animals in a world with, where I don't expect there to be people because, but they still have their little animal traits, like Dr. Wolfson still sniffing, and Sherlock Holmes definitely has a cat mentality. So I think that that's done really, really well. And so there is some good heavy lifting here in these pages. Again, this is one page. So within the next couple, though, I am going to need to have a sense of some sort of stakes in what's happening, which I don't yet. But you've done a good job introducing us to the characters and the world, which there might be a little bit too much description, but we would have to see. I mean, by the way, I am anticipating that this is a young middle grade, aiming at readers 8 to 10 years old. Yes, very similar to like a Zootopia. So I'm intrigued. I would keep reading. But like I said, at some point I'm going to need to know what Perlock needs and why I should care about that.
I think there's opportunity here to do that too. Like, I think we can slip it in because Perlock, is trying to go with the crowd. But if we just give him a little, if we give him a little bit of like, this is why he needs to do this, I think you'll have a much stronger hook here in these first pages. But I agree. It's very cute. I like the names. It's silly. I think kids would enjoy it. Lots of fun things here.
The other thing is, I don't know if this is intended, but maybe it's because of the Holmes and the collar and the kind of the umbrella, but I have a very Dickensian kind of mental picture of this world. I don't know if you guys got that just from this subtle language, which I think is well done.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think you could probably ease in some sense of plot here at the beginning.
Yeah. And I don't think we have to mention that he had woken.
Right.
Just throwing it out there, but obviously that is very being very picky about this. It's very
Yes, I thought it was very cute. I got a kick out of it. What age group? I see some discussion in the chat. I think you said young middle grade, Kelly?
I would imagine this is a younger middle grade.
That's what I would assume.
What age would that
like
be?
8 to 10-year-old readers.
8 to 10? Okay.
Be my guess.
Okay. Are 8-year-olds middle grade, or am I just wow? Jeez. What grade are you? How old are you in 6th grade?
Well, middle grade, that's what the middle grade market books. I went an 8-year-old.
Oh, okay.
There's a difference in.
Gotcha. That's why I don't do.
And I will say, okay, given that, I would also pay attention to the need for a little bit more just movement in white space. So if you really are going to be targeting the younger, I'm just assuming here that this is middle grade. If you're going to be targeting middle grade, you've got an entire page full of basically description. And today's readers are not going to go for that. You're going to have to immediately get some dialogue in here and some action in B-movie. And so as strong as this writing is, I would encourage the author to be thinking of how can you jump into a scene as soon as possible, because you got less time than this page with a middle grade reader.
I started to lose focus on what was going on because there was just so much hippity hoppeting,
right?
Or cattering.
Yeah. So just, if you placed us in the scene immediately, and just had dialogue and had them interacting, you could then show so much more about the Dr. Woofson and Sherlock Holmes and kind of bring out their characters through their interactions rather than telling us a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Anne, or is it Kelly? 6, which is a romance.
I think it's my turn to read, unless you want to read, Anne.
Okay. I mean, if you
6.
want me.
This is a romance. I've never met anyone as uniquely idiotic as my ex-husband. I can't believe you canceled my health insurance, I shout at Kevin over the phone. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it would go into effect immediately, he says flatly, barely a hint of apology in his voice. I'm sitting in my cramped office at the back of the restaurant, face cradled in my hand, heat from my phone warming the flesh of my already enraged cheeks, trying to comprehend this fresh hell. The buzz of the fluorescent lights overhead and the unrelenting tick, tick, tick of the clock on the wall grind at my brain. The fabric of my pencil skirt pickles over my legs in curves. I run a hand through my long chestnut waves, which have gone one too many days without washing. I rage, and what happened to the conversation we had literally yesterday when I told you I couldn't do anything official until I got my name changed back? Of the many tasks on the to-do list after the divorce, tromping my ass down to the Social Security office to change my last name back to Davis was top priority, so I could secure new health insurance. Canceling my old policy before I could change my name leaves me without coverage, which I only found out after being turned away for a routine checkup with my doctor earlier today. Fuck. Our divorce was final 3 days ago. Please stop canceling things on me without talking to me first. I met Kevin when I was 16 years old. He was a dumbass then, and he's a dumbass now. It only took me 11 years to figure it out. Cringe. And after those 11 years, he decided to throw our marriage away without a fight.
That lady sucks.
The lady?
I don't know. I don't know about the guy. The guy sounds, I hate to say, kind of a buffoon like me, maybe, but she definitely sucks. And it takes a while to get divorced. You can change your name whenever.
Well, I think that this, for a romance, I'm not sure this is quite the place we want to be starting.
Yeah. I was just like, this lady sucks.
So I think that Anne, you're gonna take this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to having the dumbass ex-husband as part of the story. I'm just not sure we need to start at the dumbass ex-husband. I think we need to really understand. We don't even have a character's name, which, we probably could have easily thrown that in here. Like, I'm sorry, Tammy, I didn't realize. So whoever the main character is, but I'm going to call her Tammy. So Tammy, I think we need to get to know her first, right? Like, we need to get to know who this character is a little bit more before we see like this elevated emotion from her. Starting any book with like an elevated emotion of a character is tricky because we don't know them yet, right? So that's why
we're not invested. Yeah.
Right. That's why it's always like, start in their normal, right, kind of situation, just to kind of ground us in the world. So I might go back to the drawing board on where this starts. And just, there's a lot of description. She runs her hand through the color of her hair, and the pencil skirt over her curves. Like, these are little details that we can kind of get to later. It kind of breaks up the flow of the narrative overall. And
those are what I like to call point of view violations in first person anyway. You don't think about that about yourself. I don't think I run my hand through my short blonde hair. I don't think that to myself. So you wouldn't want to write that and have your character thinking that. But I also what do you guys think about starting? I mean, it is the heightened emotion, but starting with a character. I mean, this is a, kind of a crappy situation to be in, obviously, but starting with so much kind of complaining, negative emotion, not just heightened, but negative. Like, how do you, is that really a character that you want your readers? Is it putting your character in the best light to connect with your characters? It's just, you want to show your character.
You want us to like your character, and that's why I was just like, this lady sucks. I mean,
I don't feel like she sucks.
I don't think she sucks.
she was complaining, and it has nothing to do with him. We want to connect with the character, and to get us to like the character, the first thing we see, that's what we're going to think of the character, which is why,
yeah. And I think it's also, you want your character to have a sense of agency. And if they begin with complaining, that doesn't really, is this really a character I believe can carry a whole story? I mean, not that this is a really bad situation. I'd be complaining about this situation too. But so maybe that's not the best place to start your story.
But you're not in a romance novel.
No, I am not.
I wish we all were, but we're not.
I think the writer has a good grasp on who these characters are and who she wants these characters to be, and this journey that she wants this main character to go on. And I'm here for all of that. I don't think is the start of this book. It's in there somewhere, but I don't think this is it.
And I will say the writing is strong on the line level.
Yeah. So. I just, like Anne said, not the right place to start. We want to start off loving the character, thinking they're awesome. And I mean, it's hard to be like, yeah, you're awesome when all we're seeing are complaints, even if she's right.
Or, I mean, I like a lot of books. I like a good unsympathetic character personally, but you just need to understand where they're coming from. They need to be well-rounded to be unsympathetic, and we're just not there quite yet in this first page.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if we saw the husband or the ex-husband kick a puppy, then we'd be like, oh, yeah, she's right, to hell with that guy. Run him over with a car.
I mean, I'm here for the running over with the car. Maybe that's where we should start. Just go straight to running.
That'd be great. Like, oh, man, that's awesome. She just ran that dude over. Get him.
Okay. So Mabel's books makes a good point of if there could be some juxtaposition between complaints and why she actually married him, that would give dimension. That would add, yes, I think, that might take more than one page to develop, but that
I just think
that's the kind of dimension that's missing. Yeah.
Yeah. Last one is, did you read twice, Kel? Oh, there's 7. There's
7. So we can, I didn't know if we did 6 or 7. I know 6, 7. Sorry. I didn't know if we did that or not. So I just threw another one in here. We can just answer,
or we could take questions.
Fine.
Yeah, we could take questions for 10 minutes. It's fine. Does anyone have any questions? The meaning of life, the size of the universe, what I had for dinner.
What did you have for dinner, Lane?
Oh, chicken. Actually, Japanese barbecue chicken. I marinate myself and put with sesame seeds. Yes, and the way I marinate it is I like to do it for 24 hours, but I only had like half the day, and you turn it every hour so it's not just one section being marinated.
So
Everyone's
Anyway.
asking us to read the last one. Here we go. Here's a question.
When would you advise that a writer cut a prologue?
When
When
it's
you
not
can.
Yeah, when you can. If you can cut it and
Cut
it
it.
doesn't change anything, cut it.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not going to say what I usually say, but yes, cut it when you can.
Does genre play a necessity or relevance acceptance of a prologue? That's a good question, and I would actually say no. I don't think it does, because again, prologues have got to. They really need to enlighten the story. They have to be necessary. I know a lot of people think that it could add to the world if it's like a fantasy by showing something how the world, but honestly, without grounding the reader in a character, if you're showing the world, it's just going to confuse the character. Yeah. The best prologues, I think, are usually written at the very end, like after the book has been revised and worked and reworked. If you are writing a prologue first, like in the early drafts, my guess is you're using that prologue for yourself to help yourself get into the story as a writer. So, after maybe draft 2 or 3, cut the prologue, revise your book. If by the final draft, if you feel like it still needs a prologue, then put another one in there.
Yes.
Or let your agent tell you there needs to be a prologue, or let your editor tell you.
It's so funny, Anne. We were doing the same thing at the same time.
Pressing the button.
Do better.
Opening you've read in a query before. I think that's hard because we'd have to pick something that like we probably already have and sold and everything. 'Cause I read an amazing pitch today, but I can't tell you what it is because I don't have it yet. And I'm waiting for pages for it. And so I can't throw it out to the universe.
And I can't recall a query. Like, it's been years. So like the queries of books I've sold that I could talk about, and I don't have them.
I remember Johnny Compton's query was fucking great. I don't remember the query. I just remember thinking it's fucking great and I have to read this. So my answer is yes and no.
If the last one is mine, can you read it?
Are submissions reset every month, or is mine maybe somewhere in the stack waiting on a future month?
It's probably waiting in the stack, I would say.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of them in there, and as you can see, we only can cover, about 6 in an evening. So it's going to take us some time to get through there, but we're just going to keep pressing on.
Okay.
What about a prologue told from the perspective of the antagonist or an anti-hero? The only one that I think worked, besides maybe Frankenstein, I don't remember if there's a prologue, but Richard Lee Byers wrote a book, and I forget which book because he has 40, 50. And it was the antagonist having a sword fight and getting a scar across his face. And then we don't see him again until the midpoint when he shows up and everyone's like, why are you here? And we had seen why he's here from the jump.
Yeah, the answer to that question is the same as it was before. If the story needs it, right? If you can cut it. So.
Let's see. What if you currently have a query with Lane that was forwarded from And is a thriller similar to Stephen King's Misery, but less gore and more people? I don't know.
It's probably
This is-
still in his inbox, is what he's saying.
Yes. This is not the place for that because I am awful with managing my inbox. Let's shift the thought. Epilogues. Oh.
I love an epilogue.
Me too. But, and I love to write them and I love to read them both. So I would say write them, again, they're easy to cut if not needed. But
Yeah.
I wonder why we love epilogues so much. I guess if you've really bought into the book and the characters, you don't want it to end. You want one last little note.
Yep. Kelly, do you plan to open to unsolicited queries soon? You are one of the few who represent my genre.
What genre is that?
What's your genre?
Yeah, I know.
And not in the near future, but watch. I mean, I'll make a I'll make an announcement if it happens.
Yeah, I want to know what genre too.
We're all like waiting, watching the chat.
Mm-hmm.
YA Christian.
I think there are a lot of agents who rep that.
Yeah.
They may not. I can think of 5 or 6 right off the bat. So maybe.
Do they just call it clean? I've seen that.
We don't like that term in the romance world.
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of. I'm just saying that's what I see. A lot of people who, when they mean Christian, they don't want to say Christian, so they say clean, and I'm like, clean.
So, well, that also then implies that something is dirty.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
So we're trying to push away from that word. Is all I'm saying.
I agree with you. I'm just telling you the things that people's wish lists. And on that note, I'm writing a mythology retelling. What's the landscape for that? Mine is not Greek. I think there's a market. I think people are looking for more not Greek retellings.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's definitely Christian, and sometimes Christian is messy.
Well, I would think so. Yeah.
I think all religions are messy. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Does anyone have any final questions? The answer to life is 42, baby. Just letting you all know. And that didn't hit. Okie doke.
We get it. It's been a long time. I had to pull it from way back deep in my brain, but
I know. I'm so old and in the way.
We have yeah, there you go.
Oh. And what genres are you not interested in? And you look hot to say.
What genres am I not interested in? That's tough. I don't really do in the adult space like epics, like epic fantasy, epic science fiction, space opera. Like I generally don't do those. I mean, if the voice was stellar, I could probably make an exception, but those ones that are just like the world building is just so much. I don't generally do. I don't do a lot of nonfiction unless it's dealing with women's issues. I don't do short stories. Anyone else? I do a lot of things. I'm the one that does the most things. So
I'm gonna sign on to what Ann said because I get major FOMO and I'm like, oh, memoirs are really hard. I don't want to do memoirs. And then I see a memoir and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I have to sell this. So I don't want to say something, but I like doing nonfiction and I like doing dark and spooky stuff. And I like sci-fi and I grew up on Dragonlance. So, do that. Do with that as you may.
Yeah.
I think we could answer this one. Why do
Yes.
most agents not like short story collections?
Well, I want to hear what Kelly's not interested in.
Oh,
yeah,
what
I'm
I'm
so
not
sorry.
interested in. Gosh, I really like it all. I probably don't do straight romance.
Oh.
But you know, I only do kidlit, YA down through picture book. But at the moment, not doing picture books. Like that's my list is pretty heavy with those. So and honestly, I like graphic novels, but I think there are other people at our agency who do them better. Those are not really genres. Those are more marketing categories. But anyway.
All right. Last question we'll take. Why do most agents not like short story collections? Because they're hard to sell and they don't sell well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the reality of it. Unless like you're a very famous author already, they're just harder.
Yep. That's what publishers tell me, so that's what I'm telling you. All right. Thank you for joining us. Our next live First Pages possible AMA is May 27th, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Everyone mark that down, including us. And we will see you on the flippity flap.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Lane Haymont, Kelly Dyksterhouse, and Ann Rose. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.